I still remember the exact moment everything shifted between me and my roommate Taylor. It was a Wednesday afternoon in early October, the kind of crisp fall day where the wind whispered through the trees outside our cozy three-bedroom townhouse we'd been splitting for about 8 months. I'd just gotten back from my part-time shift at the coffee shop, my apron still smelling faintly of espresso and cinnamon rolls. My sneakers were muddy from the shortcut through the park, and I kicked them off at the door, shaking out my damp hair from the light drizzle that had started on my walk home. The place had that comforting aroma, aged brick walls, the faint scent of lavender from the dryer sheets we both used, and Taylor's signature vanilla shampoo mixed with the pasta sauce I'd simmered for lunch earlier. I paused in the foyer, listening to the quiet hum of the fridge and the distant honk of cars on the street below. Taylor's bike was locked up outside, so I knew she was home. She worked from home most days, crunching numbers for some tech startup, always buried in spreadsheets and video calls. I headed toward the kitchen to grab a snack, but something caught my ear. A soft, irregular murmur coming from down the hall, out of sync with the rhythmic patter of rain picking up against the windows. My pulse quickened a bit, curiosity mixed with a twinge of concern. Was she okay? I crept closer to her bedroom door, which was slightly ajar, the light from her desk lamp spilling into the hallway like a warm invitation. I knocked lightly, more out of habit than anything, and pushed the door open just a crack. What I saw stopped me cold. Taylor was there, her tank top pushed up slightly, legs tangled in the sheets, one hand disappearing under the waistband of her shorts. She was lost in the moment, eyes closed, breathing uneven. For a split second I was frozen, shock, embarrassment, and something deeper I couldn't quite identify washing over me. Then, instinct kicked in, and I yanked the door shut with a thud, backing away as my face flushed hot. "Oh God, I'm so sorry." I stammered through the wood, my voice shaky and low. I thought maybe you were napping or something. I didn't mean to intrude." Inside, I heard a sharp intake of breath, then rustling as she scrambled. It's okay," she called back, her tone laced with mortification. "Just give me a sec." But I didn't move. Something held me there, worry for her maybe, or that unspoken pull we'd always had as roommates, but never acknowledged. We'd met through a mutual friend when I needed a place after my last lease ended, and Taylor had been the perfect fit. Organized, kind, with a dry sense of humor that matched my sarcastic wit. We shared grocery runs, late-night binge watches of old sitcoms, and the occasional hike on weekends. But this was new territory. After a long pause, I leaned against the doorframe. "Do you want me to just go? Leave you alone?" My heart was pounding now, the rain outside growing steadier, like a drumbeat echoing my nerves. There was silence. Then her voice, softer. "No. Actually, no." That surprised me. I hesitated, then pushed the door open again, stepping inside cautiously. She was sitting up now, sheets pulled up to her chest, her cheeks pink, dark hair tousled. She avoided my eyes at first, fiddling with the edge of the blanket. The room felt charged, the air thick with vulnerability. I sat on the far end of the bed, keeping space between us, maybe 5 feet or so. "Are you all right?" I asked gently, trying to sound casual but failing miserably. She nodded, pulling her knees up. "Yeah, just embarrassed. I didn't think you'd be home so early." Her voice cracked a little and she finally met my gaze. Those hazel eyes of hers, usually so confident, looked uncertain now. "It's been a stressful week. Work stuff, family drama. I just needed to unwind." "I'm really sorry," I whispered, my own embarrassment fading into empathy. Taylor had shared bits about her life before, growing up in a strict household where emotions were bottled up, expectations high from her overachieving parents. She was the reliable one, the one who never let loose. I'd opened up to her about my own chaotic past, flaky exes, art school dreams that fizzled. But she'd always kept her walls higher. "You don't have to explain. But if you want to talk," she let out a small, nervous laugh. "Talk? About this?" She gestured vaguely at herself, then sighed. "Honestly, it's been forever since I've even let myself feel anything like that. Life's just been go, go, go." My throat tightened. There was something raw in her admission, something that tugged at me. I swallowed, then said quietly, "If it helps, you don't have to do it alone." The words hung there, bold and unscripted. Her eyes widened, a mix of surprise and intrigue flickering across her face. Alone? You mean, with you here? She bit her lip, considering. Yeah, I replied, my voice trembling for reasons I couldn't pinpoint. Nerves, excitement, care. If that's what you want. No pressure. She closed her eyes for a moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, maybe. I shifted closer, still respectful of her space, and reached out tentatively, placing my hand on the blanket near her thigh. Is this all right? I asked, watching her face. She nodded again, more firmly this time. The room seemed to shrink around us, the rain a soothing backdrop to the intimacy unfolding. Tell me what feels good, I murmured, letting her guide the moment. It wasn't rushed or explicit, just gentle touches, whispers, a shared vulnerability that built a bridge between us. Her breaths came in soft waves, and when it was over, she leaned back against the headboard, eyes glistening with a mix of relief and something tender. Thanks, she said quietly, pulling the blanket around her fully. That was unexpected, but nice. Anytime, I replied, my voice thick with emotion. You don't have to hide from me. We sat there for what felt like hours, the storm outside mirroring the one inside us. The lamp cast golden shadows on the walls, and for the first time, I saw Taylor beyond the roommate facade, the late-night studier, the meticulous organizer. I saw her desires, her fears, and she saw me seeing her. I'm Riley, by the way. When Taylor and I first moved in together, our dynamic was easygoing. We'd bond over bad horror movies, split the cleaning duties, and vent about our days over takeout pizza. She was the introverted type, always with her nose in a book or her laptop, while I was the outgoing artist, filling our walls with my sketches and dragging her to local art shows. She'd rib me about my messy creative energy, and I'd tease her about being too buttoned up. We were solid roommates, nothing more, or so I thought. In the days that followed, everything felt amplified. Our shared spaces, the kitchen, the living room, became charged with unspoken glances. I'd catch Taylor watching me as I poured my morning tea, her eyes lingering a second too long. Or our hands would brush while unloading the dishwasher, sending a spark up my arm that I'd pretend not to notice. She seemed more withdrawn at times, retreating to her room earlier than usual. And at night, I'd hear the faint creak of her bed as she tossed and turned. I wondered if she was regretting it, if I'd overstepped. One Friday night, I suggested we order in and watch that new thriller series she'd mentioned. She agreed, but there was a hesitation in her voice. We settled on the couch, a fuzzy throw blanket draped over our laps. The room lit by the glow of the TV and a couple of scented candles flickering on the coffee table. The plot twisted on screen, but my focus was on her, her hand resting inches from mine. Boldly, I covered it with my own. She stiffened at first, then relaxed, her fingers intertwining with mine. Her breathing quickened, and she turned to me. Riley, I think I like you. More than just as a roommate. My heart soared, then dipped with doubt. I like you too, I confessed, squeezing her hand. A lot. But if this is too much, too soon. She shook her head, a small smile breaking through. It's not that. It's just overwhelming. In a good way. We didn't go further that night. No kisses, no rushing. Just holding each other, heads resting together as the credits rolled. But inside I grappled with my own fears. What if I was reading her wrong? What if this ruined our living situation? We had months left on the lease. And Taylor? I knew she carried baggage from her upbringing. A religious family that preached restraint, where anything outside the norm was whispered about in judgment. She'd never dated much. Never opened up about her attractions, burying them under layers of responsibility and self-doubt. The nights after that were electric, filled with loaded silences. I'd lie awake in my room, listening to her soft sighs through the thin wall, wondering if she was crying or just thinking. I wanted to knock, to hold her, but feared pushing too hard. Instead, one evening, I painted a small watercolor. 2 silhouettes in a rainstorm. Hands outstretched toward each other, the colors bleeding into a swirl of blues and grays. I left it on the kitchen counter with a note. For the storm we weathered. When she found it the next morning, she stood there, tracing the edges with her finger. "Did you make this?" she asked, voice soft as she turned to me. "Yeah," I admitted, my throat tight. "It's us. Or what I hope we could be." She nodded, eyes misty. "I love it. Thank you." It wasn't much, but it felt like a promise. Over the following weeks, autumn deepened outside, leaves turning fiery reds and oranges, piling up in drifts against our stoop. Inside, our world warmed with small gestures. Shared mugs of hot cocoa by the window, blankets piled high during movie marathons, our bodies inching closer each time. But Taylor's caution lingered. I'd lean in during a quiet moment, lips brushing marathons, our bodies inching closer each time. But Taylor's caution lingered. I'd lean in during a quiet moment, lips brushing her cheek, and she'd pull back gently, murmuring, "Not yet." Or I'd whisper her name in the dark hallway, and she'd retreat to her room with a soft, "Good night." I understood. The fear of vulnerability, of what letting go might mean. Her past had taught her to guard her heart fiercely. One weekend, things felt off. Taylor was distant at brunch with friends, her texts short and infrequent. I worried she'd changed her mind, that the intimacy we'd shared was a mistake in her eyes. That night, I baked her favorite apple pie, the kitchen filling with cinnamon and warmth. I set the table for two and called her down. She appeared, her expression guarded. "Smells amazing," she said. But her smile didn't reach her eyes. We ate in relative quiet, the clink of forks echoing. Finally, she set hers down. "Riley, we need to talk." My stomach nodded. "Okay." She took a deep breath, staring at her plate. "I like you, a lot. More than I've let myself like anyone before. But I'm terrified. I've never done this, never let someone in like this. What if I mess it up? What if I hurt you, or you realize I'm not worth it?" Tears pricked my eyes. "Hey," I said, reaching across the table to take her hand. "I'm scared too. This is new for both of us, but I want to try. With you. We can go slow, set boundaries. Whatever you need." She looked up, vulnerability shining in her gaze. "You mean that?" "Absolutely." I squeezed her hand. "I care about you, Taylor. All of you. The guarded parts, the brave ones. We don't have to rush, just be honest with each other." She nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. "Okay, let's try." We cleared the dishes together that night, our movements synchronized in a new rhythm. The rain started up again outside, tapping against the windows like applause. For the first time, the future felt possible, not perfect, but ours to shape. And in that shared space, what started as an awkward interruption bloomed into something deeper. Trust, affection, and the quiet promise of more. In the bustling heart of a mid-sized coastal city, where the ocean's salty breeze mingled with the hum of urban life, lived two young men whose paths had crossed in unexpected ways. Marcus, with his sharp wit and guarded heart, worked as a graphic designer in a small creative agency. He'd grown up in a conservative suburb, where whispers of disapproval had shaped his early years. Coming out to his high school best friend had ended in awkward silence and eventual drift, and family gatherings were laced with offhand remarks that stung like hidden thorns. He wore his independence like a shield, keeping relationships superficial, laughter his deflection tool. Then there was Liam, an aspiring writer and barista at a local coffee shop, whose warm smile and patient demeanor drew people in. Liam had his own scars, bullying in middle school for being too sensitive, a distant father who equated emotion with weakness. But he'd learned to embrace vulnerability as a strength. They met when Liam sublet a room in Marcus's apartment after a mutual friend connected them. It was meant to be temporary, a practical arrangement in a city where rent soared like the seagulls overhead. But from the start, there was a spark, subtle at first, like the first hint of dawn on the horizon. It began innocently enough. Late-night conversations in the kitchen, sharing takeout from the Thai place down the block. Marcus would crack jokes about his disastrous blind dates, always steering clear of anything too personal. Liam listened, nodding, sensing the walls Marcus had erected. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at work, Marcus came home drenched from a sudden rainstorm. Liam offered a towel and a hot mug of tea. "Rough day?" he asked, his voice steady and kind. Marcus shrugged. but his eyes betrayed exhaustion, just the usual. People expecting perfection, me delivering chaos. He laughed, but it was brittle, like glass on the verge of shattering. Liam saw it, the fear of intimacy that kept Marcus at arm's length. It was powerful, that fear. It built fortresses around the soul. Marcus had been wounded in quiet ways. A colleague's snide comment about those kinds of people. A relative's joke at a holiday dinner that hit too close to home. He carried that baggage, even when he pretended it was light. Liam didn't push. Instead, he shared bits of his own life, hoping to create a bridge. "I've been there," he said one night over pizza. "Afraid to let anyone in because what if they see the mess and bolt?" Marcus paused, his fork midway to his mouth. Then, slowly, he opened up a crack. "What does everything mean to you?" Liam asked gently, echoing a question that had lingered in his own mind. Marcus hesitated, his gaze drifting to the window where city lights twinkled like distant stars. "Letting someone see me without the filters, my fears, my desires, without shame. Letting them touch not just my skin, but my soul. Loving without holding back, without trying to control every outcome." Liam's heart ached at the words, because he wanted that too. He wanted to be the one Marcus trusted enough to dismantle those walls. Over the following weeks, their dynamic shifted like tides. Some days, they were close, sharing laughs over bad movies, shoulders brushing on the couch. Other times, Marcus withdrew, burying himself in work or disappearing into his room. Liam gave him space, respecting the rhythm of healing. He'd leave small notes on the fridge. "Thinking of you. You're stronger than you know. I'm here if you need." Not smothering, just present, like a lighthouse in the fog. One foggy autumn evening, they shared a cab home from a mutual friend's gallery opening. The air was thick with mist, and Marcus shivered in his thin jacket. Without a word, Liam slipped off his scarf and wrapped it around Marcus's neck. Their thighs touched in the cramped back seat, and Marcus's breath hitched. "This okay?" Liam murmured. Marcus nodded, and after a moment he leaned in, his head resting tentatively on Liam's shoulder. It was a small gesture, but it felt like a crack in the armor, a whisper of trust. Back at the apartment, in the dimly lit hallway with shadows dancing from the overhead bulb, Marcus lingered. "I want you in my life," Liam said softly. "Not just the safe parts, but all of it." Marcus searched his eyes, the pulse in his neck visible. He stepped closer, and Liam met him halfway, their foreheads touching. The kiss that followed was tentative, trembling, like the first raindrop before a storm. Soft lips, warm breath, honest in its imperfection. Marcus pulled back, whispering, "Thank you for not walking away." Liam smiled. "And thank you for letting me stay." But Liam had his own doubts bubbling beneath the surface. What if he wasn't enough? What if Marcus's fears became a burden too heavy to share? What if loving someone still navigating their wounds led to regret? Vulnerability cut both ways, wanting someone so deeply exposed one's own fragilities. Yet, every time Marcus offered a genuine smile, those rare ones that lit up his face when he thought Liam wasn't looking, it warmed him from the inside. Each casual touch, a glimpse of bare skin in the morning light, felt like a privilege. As the days turned cooler, they found moments of deeper connection. One crisp night, they climbed to the apartment building's rooftop, armed with blankets and thermoses of spiced cider. The city sprawled below, a tapestry of lights and sounds, while stars pierced the sky above. Marcus pulled the blanket tight around them both, his nervousness palpable. "Why did you stick around that first night we really talked?" he asked, referring to an evening when Marcus had broken down after a family call, tears hidden in the shadows. Liam sipped his cider, the warmth spreading through him. "Because I like you." Because everyone deserves someone who doesn't flee at the sight of raw emotion, and because I hoped you'd let me in. Marcus turned, his eyes reflecting the moonlight. For a long, suspended moment, Liam feared retreat. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, Marcus said, "I want to let you in." Their kiss deepened this time, still cautious, but laced with certainty. Longing pulsed between them, better than any fantasy. The tension built, protecting Marcus, helping him heal, earning his full trust, against the shadows of fear and past pain. That weekend, Marcus decided to visit his family in the quiet suburbs just outside the city. He needed the familiarity, he said, to ground himself. Liam felt a pang. Was this a step back or forward? But he drove Marcus there on Friday, the highway lights blurring as they talked about everything and nothing. "Call me if you need," Liam said at the drop-off, squeezing his hand. Saturday brought a terse text. "Thanks for the ride. Distant again." Liam called, but it went to voicemail. "I miss you. I'm here." Silence echoed back. On Sunday, Liam wandered to a bookstore in the suburbs, browsing shelves of poetry that reminded him of Marcus's hidden depths. His phone buzzed. "Can you come over?" Heart racing, he drove to the house, an older Victorian with a wraparound porch, glowing warmly against the gray sky. Marcus's sister answered the door, offering a curious smile before leading him inside. The parents were out running errands. Marcus sat on the floral couch in the living room, looking weary but resolute. "Thanks for coming," he said. Liam sat beside him. "I'm here because I care." Marcus nodded, drawing a deep breath. "I've been thinking about us, about how scared I am of being truly seen. Here at home, it's safe in some ways, but there's this pressure, questions about settling down, expectations of who I should be. When I started feeling this for you, it felt like defying everything I was raised to believe." Tears welled in his eyes. "But it's also what I want. I want to be honest with myself. With you." Liam reached for his hand, and this time Marcus didn't pull away. "You can be. I promise I'll remind you it's okay when fear creeps in." Marcus searched his face. "Trust me too. That I want this, even when it's messy." Liam's throat tightened. "I do." They kissed then, in the quiet of his childhood home, soft at first, then deeper, raw and tender. Fingers brushed cheeks, tastes of salt from unshed tears, and the faint sweetness of afternoon tea. Marcus paused, gazing at Liam, his tousled hair, ink-stained hands from writing, earnest eyes. "Being with you feels real, Liam. More than anything else." The emotional crescendo washed over them. Fears laid bare, longing transformed into open love. They didn't rush physical boundaries, content with holding each other, breaths sinking as emotions settled. It was intimate in its subtlety. Fingers, tracing arms, warmth of skin against skin, the sensuality of earned trust. Hours passed in conversation. Family pressures, hidden childhood pains like dodging questions about crushes, the sting of online vitriol that made Marcus question his worth. Liam shared his own, schoolyard taunts, a relative's rejection, nights of loneliness pretending self-sufficiency was enough. They discovered shared resilience, not just as survivors but as creators of something new. A foundation of love, trust, and self-acceptance. "You've made me feel brave," Marcus said, squeezing Liam's hand. Even now, with the fear lingering, Liam's eyes misted. "You've always been brave." They left as dusk fell, walking through a light drizzle to Liam's car. Marcus wore Liam's jacket, laughing as puddles splashed their jeans. The air carried the scent of rain-soaked pavement and possibility. Under a street lamp, they kissed again. Mutual, desired, a seal on their turning point. Back in the city, life wove into a gentle rhythm. Not flawless. Doubts surfaced, old habits resurfaced. But love took root. Mornings, Liam rose early to brew coffee, watching Marcus sleep, the soft rise of his chest in the golden light. He'd jot poems inspired by him, leaving them on the nig. Marcus sleep, the soft rise of his chest in the golden light. He'd jot poems inspired by him, leaving them on the nightstand. Marcus caught him once, his smile shy and genuine, eyes crinkling with joy. Nights blurred boundaries. Marcus stayed in Liam's room more, falling asleep with hands linked, one sometimes whispering into the dark, "I wish this could last forever." Routines emerged. Lazy brunches with French toast, afternoon walks along the beach where waves crashed like applause, evenings curled up with books or sketching designs side by side. They blended worlds, Marcus's electronic playlists with Liam's acoustic folk, reading passages aloud from novels that mirrored their journey. They discussed desires openly, setting boundaries that made both feel secure. One weekend, Marcus suggested dinner with his old college buddy, who knew nothing of their relationship. Liam's pulse quickened, stepping into visibility. At the seaside bistro, waves lapping nearby and lanterns flickering, Marcus introduced him steadily. "This is Liam, my partner." The word hung like a promise. His friend was gracious, later confiding, "I'm happy he has you." Under the table, Liam squeezed Marcus's knee. "Thank you," Marcus mouthed. Walking home along the boardwalk, salt air crisp, hands entwined, Marcus stopped. "I love you, Liam." The words, simple and profound, echoed the ocean's roar. "I love you too, Marcus." In that moment, under the moon's silver gaze, their story, woven from fear, vulnerability, and unwavering patience, blossomed into something enduring. A testament to the quiet power of letting someone in. My voice steady, pulse racing. That evening, under the dim glow of our apartment's kitchen light, I walked in on Riley in a moment he never meant for anyone to see. The rain hammered against the windows like an unrelenting drum, mirroring the storm inside me as I froze in the doorway. We'd been roommates for months, two guys navigating the chaos of college life in a cramped two-bedroom in the city. Riley, with his tousled dark hair and quiet demeanor, was the kind of person who blended into the background, always polite, always reserved. Me, I'm Ethan, more outgoing, the one who dragged him to parties or study sessions, trying to pull him out of his shell. But that night, everything shifted. He was there, caught in a private act of self-discovery. His face flushed with embarrassment as our eyes met. Shame washed over him like a wave, and he scrambled to compose himself, muttering apologies that tumbled out in a rush. I could have turned away, pretended it never happened, but something in his vulnerable gaze held me there. My heart ached for him, not judgment but empathy. "It's okay," I said softly, stepping closer, my own hands trembling. "Really, Riley? No need to hide." He looked up, eyes wide as if expecting rejection. Instead, I offered a hand, pulling him to his feet. In that charged silence, he leaned in, tentative, and our lips met for the first time. A kiss born not of passion alone, but of raw honesty. It was messy, uncertain, but it cracked open a door we'd both been afraid to touch. From that moment, our world expanded in ways I never anticipated. We didn't rush into labels or declarations. Instead, we navigated the aftermath with careful steps. Riley confided in me about his past, growing up in a conservative small town where being gay felt like a secret he had to bury deep. His family, devout and traditional, had instilled in him a fear of his own desires, making every attraction feel like a betrayal. He'd moved to the city for college to escape, but the shadows followed. Me? I'd come out in high school, faced the backlash, and built a life where I could be open. But even I carried scars from relationships that fizzled under pressure. That night sparked something deeper than physical closeness. It ignited a journey of emotional unraveling. Over the following weeks, our conversations stretched into the early hours. We'd sit on the worn couch in our living room, mugs of herbal tea cooling forgotten on the coffee table, talking about dreams we'd shelved. Riley wanted to travel, see the bustling streets of Tokyo, hike the misty trails of the Pacific Northwest, places where he could breathe freely without the weight of expectations. I shared my aspirations. Finishing my degree in environmental science, maybe starting a nonprofit to protect urban green spaces. We daydreamed about how our families might react if we ever brought each other home. His parents, he feared, would see it as a phase or a sin. Mine, more progressive but still protective, might worry about the challenges we'd face. We set goals for ourselves emotionally. Riley aimed to build confidence in his identity, while I worked on letting go of my guarded heart. Inner growth didn't happen overnight. It unfolded like the slow bloom of a flower in spring. Riley started practicing mindfulness, journaling his thoughts in a leather-bound notebook I'd gifted him. He let me see his vulnerabilities, the nights when doubt crept in, when he'd curl up and whisper fears of not being enough. There were times he'd cry, not the dramatic sobs of movies, but quiet tears that spoke volumes. I learned patience, resisting the urge to fix everything, instead offering a steady presence. Loving someone, I realized, often meant embracing the quiet spaces between words, holding space for their pain without demanding resolution. Sometimes, I'd just sit beside him on the balcony, watching city lights flicker, our shoulders touching in silent solidarity. We healed together, parallel paths intertwining. Riley sought therapy, finding a counselor specializing in LGBTQ+ journeys, someone who understood the nuances of internalized shame. I accompanied him to a session once, sitting nervously in the waiting room before joining for a joint discussion. It was eye-opening, learning tools for communication, for navigating triggers. He thanked me often, his voice soft with gratitude, for seeing him as more than just the quiet roommate, for peering beyond the facade he'd built. In return, I thanked him for his trust, for sharing wounds that ran deep, scars from years of suppression. Emotionally, I evolved too. His openness mirrored my own insecurities, fears of rejection, of history repeating itself with another failed connection. But Riley's faith in me became a beacon, showing me my own strength. Loving him taught me self-kindness, to forgive my past missteps. As seasons shifted, summer's heat fading into the crisp bite of fall, our bond deepened. We celebrated small milestones. The first time he held my hand in a crowded cafe, his grip tentative but firm. Holidays arrived with a mix of joy and nerves. Thanksgiving found us cooking a modest feast in our kitchen. Turkey roasted with herbs, sides piled high. We exchanged gifts under a string of fairy lights we'd hung haphazardly. Riley surprised me with a custom map, pinned with dream destinations we'd discussed, a reminder of adventures ahead. I gave him a bracelet engraved with a compass rose, symbolizing the direction we'd found in each other. Guidance through uncertainty. One chilly winter night, we ventured to a local festival, booths lit with colorful lanterns, the air thick with the scent of cinnamon and pine. Riley tried his hand at a ring toss game, laughing when he missed, his breath forming clouds in the cold. Later, as snow began to fall softly, we wandered to a quiet park bench. He slipped, nearly tumbling on the slick path, and I caught him, our bodies pressing close. We collapsed in a heap of giggles, lying back to watch flakes dance above us. In that serene moment I kissed him, the world fading to just us. He kissed back, his warmth chasing away the frost, and we walked home hand in hand. Hearts alight, whispering in the doorway, he said, "You've given me a sense of belonging I never knew." I replied, "It was always here, waiting for you." At the story's heart, we progressed not through flawless harmony, but through daily choices to nurture what we'd built. I graduated that spring, cap and gown fluttering in the breeze. Riley, ever supportive, attended the ceremony, beaming from the stands. He even volunteered to speak at a campus pride event afterward, sharing his story of self-acceptance, of finding love in unexpected places. I listened, chest swelling with pride, tears pricking my eyes. Under the blooming cherry blossoms post-event, he pulled me close, a gentle kiss sealing the day. Now, our evenings are a tapestry of shared routines. Some nights I find him on the couch, lost in old memories on his phone, a distant look in his eyes. If tears come, I wrap him in my arms, no words needed. He turns to me, murmuring thanks, and I remind him gratitude isn't required, that his courage inspires me, that my love is unwavering. He might chuckle or sigh or simply lean in, and we drift into peace together. Reflecting on that initial rainy encounter, when I interrupted his solitude and he allowed me in, I recognize it as the genesis of not just intimacy, but profound connection, healing wounds, fostering trust. What this tale truly embodies isn't merely the catch or the kiss, but how authentic love blossoms from unlikely seeds. It's about bravery and vulnerability, truth in shadows, endurance in uncertainty, and compassion in chaos. Love isn't always fireworks or epics. It's the quiet vigil beside someone unveiling their soul, the patient wait for their words to form, the steady reassurance amid your own tremors. True closeness lies in bearing fears, genuine romance in unwavering faith. I'll cherish the fragments that forged us. The quiver in Riley's touch during our first public embrace, the solitary tears he recounted denied affections, the comfort of his weight against me during stormy nights, the shared mirth under neon signs in drizzling streets. These built our foundation. Today, we're partners, not mere cohabitants, attending gallery openings, plotting road trips, envisioning a future with rings if society evolves. We've begun dialogues with families, some receptive, others hesitant, but we're anchored in our truth, embracing imperfect acceptance. Riley strides with newfound poise now. Head high, voice resolute, gaze direct. He claims his identity boldly, clasps my hand without hesitation, emanates a glow once eclipsed by dread. In him, I discover untapped potentials, to be wholly me, cherished, adored. When twilight descends and rain patters once more, stirring memories of that pivotal eve, of humiliation met with grace, terror yielding to trust, I smile at the serendipity. That instant, though minor, unraveled our tapestry. We're imperfect still, fretting over unintentional hurts, dreading drifts apart. Yet daily we affirm our bond, our candor, our union. To those lingering in obscurity, terrified of exposure, may you encounter a soul who stays, who grasps your essence, who adores your blemishes. You merit sanctuary, affection, visibility. This is our queer love narrative. Not a flawless fable, but a tangible testament. We opted for authenticity over concealment, mended through mutual aid, embraced hope over hesitation. Gratitude for witnessing our path, for acknowledging our light.